Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another free pre-market broadcast presented to you by Investors Underground. We've already had a crazy morning. GELS nuts this morning. Now we've got TIVC going nuts. So I'm looking forward to hearing the thoughts of the gentlemen. Just before we get stuck in, this video is for information and education purposes only. They're not buy or sell recommendations. If you're happy with that, then please continue to watch. All right, cool. Let's head straight across to the boss. Nate, take it away.
What's happening? All right. So, I mean, market's still crazy. The uncertainty is real. Great unwind yesterday. Nice unwinds, Palantir and many others. I think Palantir was probably the best move there. And then Bitcoin was strong. And then it started to come in. So we had some nice Mara and MSTR action. But I really think we're just going to continue in this path of uncertainty, and one day it's going to be up big, next day is going to be down big, and until we get some more color on what's going on. So the good part though is I would say it's definitely not easy, but I mean the small caps have been insane, and there's been no shortage of plays, and right now we're sort of in that environment where chase first, ask questions later. Anything that has a sub million float has been going crazy, or sub 2 million anyway. But yesterday's UXIN or whatever was 1.3, I think, and then SBEV was 1 point something, 1.23, something like that. And then obviously we've got TIVC this morning, which I already traded, pretty much doing the same sort of bait tricks every single time. It came up $5 on 200,000 volume. I'm familiar with this one. We traded this last time, and it was a liquidity trap watch. And there are times when liquidity traps work, and times that liquidity traps do not work. And sometimes that day 2 or 3 is just sort of the cover comes in, and that's it. And everybody's expecting more. They overhold. And then things start to fade off because at the end of the day, the only buyers were, the buy-ins, the covers, things like that. But recently we've been having a lot of that secondary move, that perpetual squeeze. And it's not necessarily happening, right on time, where, T+2, T+1, 2, kind of setup situation like this, where we had almost 35 million shares or so traded on 700,000 float, sub million float, and then it just kind of tapered off. But because of yesterday's move on UXIN, because of maybe after hour move on SBEV last night, the market wants to chase. The market is rewarding chasers right now. And the sooner you understand that, the more it makes sense of, wait, why the hell did you just chase that $5 move? How can you be confident taking that trade? And you have to kind of throw that out right now in this current market environment. Now, any other day, this is dumb, right? But right now, understanding the type of market that you're in is crucial to knowing when it's a silly chase or when there's actually some sort of edge. And the same thing that I said in the room yesterday on SBEV with that long idea, when I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right, if I'm going to get long, it's probably like a buck risk. If I get short, it's probably like $5-8 swipe risk, right? In this current market environment. So why am I even thinking about a short? And that's good risk reward on the long side. If I could get a $1 risk for, potential, 3, 5, 8 upside. So that is current market environment. And, it's going to continue to go until we start to have those easy layup unwind type trades, right? Where we have these big gap ups and then they just fade all day. Shorts are going to absolutely milk the heck out of them. And then at some point, there's going to be one that catches them off guard, and then we restart the cycle again. So right now we are in a very chase happy, long bias market. People are buying shares. They are not selling. And it's just really shorts versus shorts, and where it goes, nobody knows until things start to kind of clear out. So, for example, yesterday's was that yesterday UXIN? I forget the ticker. Probably screwing it up. Peter Slow. UPXI, sorry. UPXI. But if we look at this, it's where it's going, nobody knows until we had that huge clear out. And then immediately after that, tape shifted and it never had a higher low. It actually only had lower highs. So that's the kind of stuff you have to wait for. Same deal with MLGO yesterday. Very, very clean. I added the 1080 line yesterday, but for me, the focus was the 730 line and then the 1155. So you can kind of see the consolidation there. But then midday, it offered great shorts, but we're still front side of the move. So recognizing that 1080 was soaking over and over and over again, it's fine to trade this. This was a great trade, 12 parabolic down to, 11 1080s or so. But if you start to fight it over that 1150 line, you've got to let it kind of clear out. So we did have the clear out. I was off desk. I was picking up my daughter. I know Stan got a good piece of this right over here. But again, just waiting for that clear out move and then let it pop. Let it pop. And if it stops creating higher lows and it starts creating lower highs, that's when you can get in there and have proper risk. So it's not easy right now. It's hard because, yes, you got to chase a huge move and then it keeps on going. So it's hard to put on a ton of risk and be confident about that. But at the same time, there's just so much opportunity that you can actually spread your risk across a few different ones and ends up being all right. So anyway, as Sam kind of mentioned, we had GELS. So far, anytime that I can just kind of take two lines and do this, to me, there's no edge right now, right? We need to see some sort of blowout over 510s, 520 range, or some sort of failed follow through under 390s. If I'm trading it in between, that's fine. It could be, a small scalp here or there. But if I'm looking for something zooming out, big picture, I need to see it either exhausting over this level or failing under this level. Otherwise, you should assume it's just going to chop. So it's definitely a watch, but feels a little crowded. Got to figure it out. Let it kind of tell us. And I don't mind joining it later. I don't need to find the top. That's when you get really, really chopped up. WNW is a nice little runner today. HOLO is a pretty good runner today. And I'll be watching these. HOLO, I think we'll have a little bit of the MLGO crowd, people kind of getting excited about that. So I'll be waiting for it to kind of fail and then potentially join that trend. Nothing that I'm really willing to jump in front of. But other than that, daily drivers for me, I mean, we had GME yesterday was fantastic and it actually got saved. So we're kind of in like a weird time frame here because GME is overextended. It's been trending up very, very nicely, but they haven't done anything as far as I've seen with the Bitcoin side of things. So once they do, it could take on another leg up, just like MSTR has been performing pretty well despite the market coming in. So if and when they finally do that or put out a PR that they've made some moves in the Bitcoin space, then this might take on a life of its own. But for now, it's been a great fader when it sets up for failed follow through. But the key has been don't overstay. Once it starts to reverse, there's no sellers on this thing. It's a meme, and they're going to continue to move it higher. So anyway, TIVC main watch for now. But again, it's not something where I can just sink my teeth in and go high conviction. This is a high probability trade, good setup, but I'm not willing to put on some crazy size because if I'm wrong and it just slams down 50%, like that becomes a pretty big loss pretty quick. So it does add up on smaller size, but just be cautious getting too aggressive. But I have about a third left of that trade. We talked about this one in the room as far as I was looking for a flush under VWAP where they basically soak it and then basically a reclaim and swipe back up. So same kind of situation that we saw, just yesterday on SBEV, and I made a very similar trade. So those will be the main watches for the crazy ones. HOLO, higher the better. And again, the daily drivers is something like Palantir, GME, NVDA. They've always been great traders. So That is about it. Over to you, Sam.
Super. Thank you, Nate. Great thoughts. As always, speaking of Nate's thoughts, if you're watching this thinking, hey, I want to hear more about what Nate has to say today or any of the guys, there's never been a better time to join RU. We're currently running our volatility sale. Check it out. I've tweeted the link here. You can see at Trades Turbo. Yeah, check it out if you want to join us. All right, cool. Let's go to Emil. Emil, take it away.
Yep. All right. Morning, everyone. So a few names I'm looking this morning. One of them is MLGO. Yesterday being pretty resilient, and everybody got used to, after it put the backside, they had some PRs along the way that gave decent pops to short into, and it was a matter of time where they are going to put a PR and it's just going to fade that easy, at least. So yesterday being the day, we're actually being resilient, had an attempt to short it after the morning push, but obviously started to grind, so I just cut it off and left it alone after that. And this morning I like it because it's gapping up into prior resistance, and right now it's sort of looking like doesn't have enough steam, but we shall see. Anyway, I'm interested to short any pops, going to risk 14 more or less. So as long as it's going to stay heavy even after the open, sometimes we have this type of sideways action, and then it's just going to give up at the open. So I won't be shy to slam it on along the way. But again, I would really like to see some pops, and I'm going to risk 14 more or less. If it's just going to stay there or grind or being resilient, definitely not interested to fight with, and I'm just going to patiently wait for a better entry spots. GELS. Same thing, more or less same plan like Nate. I would really like to see a bluff at the open. That would be ideal. Not really interesting as long as it's going to stay stuck in a box, or going sideways. Already broke the trend here, so had a breakout and sort of break the trend. And now these pops were good. So I am thinking if there is going to be any bluff at the open 550-ish or something like that, I would be really interested. Other than that, I'm just going to watch, see if breaks the trend again, and then interested in pops. So I'm short biased on this one, but not really in a very eager to be the first in. So I'm just going to wait a better risk reward and see how it's going to behave at the open. WNW, that's a China name. Had a squeeze early in the morning. I'm going to wait, not really interested here, but if it's going to push back towards to 40 area, definitely interested there. So any push against pre-market highs, I'm going to be interested in a short and recycle based on previous levels. Now, I am also watching Tesla. I already see that it's sort of starting up. So for me, I'm slightly long bias on this trade, mostly because the market is gapping up a little bit, went sideways and sort of consolidate. I would really want to see if it's going to build up above VWAP-ish, or even if it's going under and then reclaims, I'm going to be interested to go long. Or if later in the day it's going to retest green to red area, see if it's going to manage to stay above that area for a long trade. So basically any dips versus green to red, I am going to be interested in getting involved in a long trade. Same goes to Netflix. Oops. I'm sorry. Same thing here. Yesterday held pretty well, and as you can see, that's a strong. They had earnings yesterday, and this morning it's gapping up. Didn't fade with the market. That's a definitely sign of strength. So any dips versus green to red area, I'm going to be interested. I'm risking more or less yesterday's lows. So dips, some sort of build up, or maybe opening range break at some stage. really interested in such thing. PLTR, sorry. PLTR, same thing here, gap up, sideways, and now breaking out. I'm not going to be interested in getting involved here, but again, if it's going to give some dips versus 92 or even lower, definitely interested in getting some, and looking mostly for some sort of a bounce trade, not going to marry with. Definitely I'm going to lock in along the way, and we shall see how the market is going to behave. That's not really a time to be very have a very strong bias, just going with the flow. So if the market decides to stay strong or have a bounce today, I'm going to try to take advantage out of these moves, but other than that, definitely not looking to be a hero. And the last one is TIGR. I like this one mostly because the daily chart, it's still looking that it's holding the trend and has some narrow range here. As you can see, it's been 4 days where has this very tight range, and this morning apparently it's breaking out. So any dips again versus 660-ish more or less, I'm going to be interested in a long. I'm going to risk 650-ish more or less, or yesterday's lows, and I'm going to try to hold this one, see if there is going to be any follow through in the market, and this one managed to hold the trend and bounce. So yeah, that's it for me today, guys. Good luck, and I am going to pass it over to Stan.
Very good. Thank you, Emil. Good morning, guys. We have Tuesday, April 22nd, a day before Earth Day, I think. So a couple of things that I haven't watched. Nate and Emil covered a good portion of them. I will just briefly go over some of the names that they've covered, and then we'll mention some of the main watches. So I'll start with SBEV. Really nice runner there after hours yesterday, and then we had a nice recheck in with the same congestion area, pretty much where it failed after hours and kind of stabilized. So we had this pop up this morning, and then it checked in with the 11s. You can kind of see how 11s was rejecting after hours yesterday here, and again a little bit afterwards. So rechecked in with this 11s, and then it failed to follow through early pre-morning. So ideally, out of the gate, if it opens, swipes up, maybe does something like 890s, 950s, something like that. Rechecks in with this midpoint range here. That would be ideal, and then it fails to follow through. I will be interested in joining that trade for an opportunity there. That's SBEV. The next one that I haven't watched, GELS. I'll just quickly mention, but same thought, same idea. Not really interested in this sideways action here. Let it kind of do its thing in this dollar channel, and then we'll watch once it opens. Ideally, it swipes maybe 550s, 570s. If it starts to reject this area, then I'm interested. But also keeping in mind some of the general small caps price action that we've seen over the last several sessions. As Nate mentioned earlier, you chase first, ask questions later type of thing. So definitely not interested in being first or trying to figure out the top and stepping in front of some of these names. So GELS, anything GELS, anything over 5s I'm interested in, or if it fails to follow through on 4s, that works as well. Some of the daily drivers, so-called basket, NVDA, PLTR, SMCI, Nate covered them briefly. So same idea here. I mean, it's not necessarily having a full-blown plan from market open to market close one way or one direction. It's more so acting and reacting to some of these big moves. When you have a a move like this in SMCI that it slides straight down, or you have something like POTR when essentially ramps up out of the gate and then it fails. This chart yesterday in POTR looks pretty similar to how NVIDIA did it last week. So essentially, these are the daily drivers that I'd like to focus on. Higher time frame opportunities. So for POTR, if we shove into 9370s, 94s, I will be interested. Or if it fails to follow through on 92s, 91s, you can kind of see how important this level has been over the last couple sessions, and we'll look to trade that accordingly. So ideally, some more opportunities there on the daily driver side between PLTR and NVIDIA. The next one that I haven't watched is this TIVC. Pretty thin name, pretty quick mover, as you can see, from $3 straight to 13 in 10-15 minutes. So this definitely isn't a name to step in front of. Nice little clear out candle here that we saw over 16. It essentially cleared out this demand zone, and so far it's been staying as ceiling. So what I'm looking for on TIVC is some sort of fail or clear out of the gate and then fail to follow through. So if we get something 13.5s, I will be interested, and then look to zone in from there. And then the last one that I haven't watched is MLGO. Really nice trader there yesterday off this end of day clear out. Nice speed up, and then it pretty much unwound. So today, again, for me, MLGO, it's more so on the backside. I mean, if we put it on a daily chart, this is starting to look like pretty much any one of these RGTIs, etc. type of daily charts. So for me, what I'm looking for is just more pressure to resume. So any sort of clear out 13.5s or 14s, that's kind of where it fell yesterday as well, into the 14s area. So any clear out into the 13.5s, 14s, I will be interested in participating. And with that, that pretty much completes my watch for today. I will pass this back to Sam, and I'll see you guys in the room.
Thank you, Stan. The crowd have been yelling for an encore, so we're going back today.
Yeah, I forgot one major watch. So not that I'm all crazy bearish or anything like that, but when we get these types of setups, whether it be an SMCI, an NVIDIA, an MSTR, whatever the case may be, where things start to really, really overextend, I get really, really focused. So we have that on gold. It doesn't mean that it has to pull back, and it can keep on going, and it probably does, as long as the uncertainty is there. And Bitcoin's been kind of following the same trend too. But I want to keep this on watch. There's going to be a lot of other trades. If you do a scan at night, look for gold and look at all the other gold stocks, and try to find your favorite ones, so that the day that we do have a pullback in gold, you're ready. It doesn't mean that it's today, it doesn't mean it's tomorrow, but the day that it does fade and it stays heavy versus VWAP. So like right now, I'm looking for pops, and as long as it stays heavy versus that VWAP, I'm interested in the downside. However, if it starts to firm up at VWAP, I don't want to be fighting it. I don't want to stay short, etc. So it is a huge move. It's not, a small cap where like a TIVC, where yes, maybe you can make a bunch of money on small shares, but it's a low conviction kind of trade versus something like this where you can really sink your teeth in and really put some good money to work. And I think Chris mentioned a couple minutes ago in the chat that there's big options expirations date on Thursday, so could have some nice mean reversion moves on watch for me for downside as well for him. So I remember the last time he was kind of talking about that was around the Palantir move, right? So when there's a lot of options that are expiring, sometimes we get some really, really crazy outlier moves. So keep an eye on that. High conviction, high probability if and when it starts to pull back. And the best part about it is liquidity is not really a concern, whereas obviously with low floaters, it is. So that's it. Back to you, Sam.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nate. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, and thank you for coming back on. We've had a few people in the chat say that we should do more of these. We should do them every day. Well, we do them every day. We do them in the room every single day. And like I said, for today only, we are running our volatility sale. It expires tonight. There's never been a better chance to join the community. I have tweeted it at Trades Turbo if you want to check out the link, or feel free to email me. My details are on the screen now. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you to everyone who's watched. We'll trade them out today, guys, and we'll see you in the room.